Hey there, everyone. Welcome to A Slice of Life with Kellie and Jon. Thank you for joining us. Today we have Brianne Killeen, who has joined us before. You were one of our very first guests, and we wanted to have her back because she's so dynamic. She's a journalist and a reporter, and she's authored some articles, and she's very well educated. You went to Montclair University, correct?
Yeah, Montclair State University.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you finished in early? Is that correct
Yeah.
too?
So I studied communications and media studies there with a minor in entrepreneurship. And I ended up graduating a year early. So I went to a high school that has like a big dual enrollment program, which they don't necessarily promote unless you know about it. But I knew about it, so I applied for all the credits that I could, got those transferred to college, graduated a year early. And I didn't realize I was going to graduate in 3 years. But I did. So I was like, you know what, I'll just supplement the last year, being that I thought I would be here studying anyway, and get another degree. So I applied for the accelerated 12-month master's program for business administration, and I'll be done with that within the next couple of weeks. So
Jeez.
And
yeah.
how were
Awesome.
you able to do that and your
Work.
full-time your job in media?
So they do give a disclaimer with the program that it's not intended for students who work full time. For me, it wasn't really a choice. I had to work full time in order to pay for the college program. But balancing it has not been easy. That's for sure. A lot of time management. It worked out though that I work from 8 to 4 Monday through Friday, plus some side work on the weekends with my brother's company that I've been doing for years, and I have the time on the weekend to do it. So I just no brainer for me. But balancing the two, the classes are in the evening. So when I do have to be on campus, I have to be there at like 7 o'clock at night. So I'm able to go after work and then do my classes and then do my homework on the days that I don't have class.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very proud of you. Very honored to be able to follow along in your career and watch you flourish as time goes on, where we have great expectations. And the last time we talked to you, you were working with ABC,
So I
the
was
network
working with,
ABC.
yeah, I wasn't working on network side. I was working on local side. So
Okay.
Eyewitness News is where I was. Um, I believe the last time that I spoke with you guys, I was still interning there. After my internship, I did end up getting hired to work in their studio. So I did that. I continued networking, working in the studio, working with anchors on a day-to-day basis, and then this on-air position that I have now became available. So I jumped there and took that. It is a little bit of a smaller station, but that's how it works in the media industry with getting on air. You go to a big place, you intern there, you make all your connections, and then you got to go somewhere smaller to get on air and then kind of work your way
Work
back
your
until
Yeah.
way.
you get back to the big
Yeah.
spot again, just in a different dynamic. So it's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, that
Well,
makes sense.
yeah, but what I like, or at least I see in you, is this path. And like you said, sometimes you gotta, it's not a down step. It just may be some kind of a lateral in a different position in order to then take the next highest step.
Yeah.
Is there a short-term goal, a long-term goal? What what
Yeah.
What do you
So
see short term? And in short term, I'm saying over the next 3 to 5 years, and
uh
then and there's no way to predict where it could go from there.
Yeah, you
But
never know.
go ahead.
Yeah, so I like that you pointed that out. With it not being a down step, I feel like that's a common misconception for some people up and coming in the industry. I know that that's how I felt. I was a little bit skeptical because I was like, well, I'm
Mm.
at the number one local news station in the entire country, and now I'm going to go somewhere that's smaller that maybe not as many people know about. But it's not about the location, it's about the experience that you're getting from it, and then, kind of having those goals of moving up.
Hmm.
Unless you want to stay at a place like that, which is totally fine, to each their own. For me, short term, I don't necessarily have a timeline, but my plan is to kind of move up in stations. I don't Another common path, I guess, with reporters and on air talent is they go to smaller markets. So they'll go to other states, Nebraska, Idaho, and get experience where their population is a little bit smaller, whatever the case may be, and then work their way back to the city area because this is the number one market, and I believe LA is the second market in the country. So people will bounce around and then like try to get to LA and then try to get back to New York City. But because I'm still here now and my first on-air spot is here, I'm going to try to work my way up at places here in New Jersey, hopefully News 12, Pix 11, Channel 2, Channel 4, and then one day the dream is to be back at Channel 7, just, on the on-air side.
Nice. So where are you now? It's called WMBC.
Yes.
That's the
Yeah.
company that you work with. And they're smaller, but sometimes what I like about the idea of being young and starting out small is you don't get lost in, if you're competing in a bigger organization with so many other people, you may just get lost and you may just give up or just think, oh, this is too hard. There's too many people vying for these few positions that are available. Whereas you're probably getting the opportunity to do a lot. You're on camera, right? You're doing on camera reporting and you're doing live news reports and are you going on location or are you in the studio or both or?
So I am, I'm in the studio I'm not in the studio. I'm in the newsroom. So I edit and I write, in the studio, in the newsroom, and I record and report from location. So every day, Monday through Friday, I'm out at 2 to 3 different locations each day, reporting on those 2 to 3 different stories. So it's a lot of moving parts, and a lot of fast things happening all at once all the time. But being somewhere smaller gives me the opportunity to be able to learn and not have the pressure of, oh my God, this huge spotlight is on me. Like I can't mess up. It's okay to mess up, and it's okay to kind of like learn those things that you have to learn in order to get better.
Right.
So
that when you go
yeah.
to the major company, you won't mess up.
Yeah.
It's really simple.
Or if you do mess up, you catch yourself. Because it's not good to never make a mistake. It's good to make mistakes and then know how to recover.
And learn,
that way, once you are in the larger market, it's not going to throw you off if you do. Because, we slip up here and there.
Yeah. And what's good too, sorry, just one thing I want to add is what's good too is being somewhere smaller, it kind of forces you to wear a bunch of different hats. So while it's important to like niche down, and I love to write and speak, and that's just my passion is information and writing, public speaking. I do like the idea of editing my own work and seeing how things are on the back end, because I feel like that's helpful even when you do get to the dream goal and you're not editing everything. You're able to make it a little bit easier on everybody else around you who is editing your work and who is shooting your stuff. So it's good to know everything that goes into the end product.
Can you take us through the process? So you start your day out. Do you know what stories you're going to cover? Do you decide them? Does somebody assign them to you? How does that work? And then from there, what do you do?
Yeah, so I get in by 8 a.m. every day. Our show is 6:30 in the morning. So that's our anchor is the only person in the studio that early in the morning. Our anchor and our tech director who records the shows in the morning. So I get in by 8 a.m. I don't always know my stories in advance. Usually I don't, unless it's like a huge event that's happening that we know about. For example, a bunch of FIFA stuff has been happening over the summer. So that's stuff that we knew about, that we knew like, okay, we need to block Brie off for this day, this time slot, and she needs to go there, and that's all she's worried about for the day. But for the most part, it's kind of just we get in the morning, we get a list of ideas from our news director, and we get to look through those lists, see if there's something that we kind of want to bite at and grab for the day. Or if there's pitches that maybe, for me, I'm North Jersey, I live in North Jersey. Our other reporter lives in South Jersey. So sometimes she'll know more of what's going on down there than I'll know what's going up here. So we get to pitch stuff. And also there's more flexibility too if we want to get creative, if there's something specific that I like to do, which specifically I like reporting on small businesses in the area and like doing little feature stories on them. So if there's something new that's opening up or that has opened, I'll try to pitch those. So we get our stories set in stone, usually by 9:30. That's including making phone calls to make appointments for interviews for the day, because most people aren't in their offices until 9 a.m. So kind of have to wait, do the research, and then wait until 9 and call them, make appointments. And then from there, it just it just goes. I mean, you never really know. You make a plan in the morning, and most of the time it doesn't go to plan. You get to your appointment, something falls through, or something goes wrong, or it takes longer. So then you can't go to your next appointment. And you got to reschedule that. It's just a lot of things. But wherever the chaos lies, usually I try to keep it between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m., maybe 1:30 too, if I really have to push it. So that way I can get back to the station by 2:30 and edit all of my work, and make sure that all my scripts are approved and that everything's edited before my day's over at 4.
Have you had, and only because here in New Jersey, where Brianne is, uh, over the last few weeks, they've had torrential rains in some places that have, places like Plainfield and other locations where it just wiped out certain areas. What happens on a situation like that? Do they call in the meteorologist in your at your place to go deal with those, or do they have the reporters go to those locations?
So different places I think have different processes. I was actually in North Plainfield reporting on the flooding. So a
Oh,
lot of times they'll send out a general assignment reporter, which is technically I'm general assignment, so they can send me out on whatever. Which there I bumped into like the Channel 7 general assignment reporter, bunch of other reporters. But then I did bump into a meteorologist or weather reporter for some other station. So it kind of a mix of different people
got it.
there. But I was there and it was devastating and really sad to see what those families were going through. But in a way, I'm happy that I'm able to tell the stories for those people and bring light to things like that that are happening. So that's just really what it's all about, I think.
Wow. I still want to get a little bit more of the picture. So then when you go to the flood, go to the
Yeah.
scene, do you bring a cameraman? Do you have mic people? Do you have like a whole crew of people, or is it just like a cameraman and you
So it's just me.
or camera
It's
woman?
just me.
Okay.
I record, report, write, edit all my own stuff.
Wait a
So
minute, wait a
Wow.
minute. How do you operate? You
Yeah, how do
set
you
up a
record it?
camera.
yeah.
You set up a stagnant camera,
Yep.
and it's
Okay.
on you. You got to
Yep.
assume it's on you.
Yeah. Well, I can see it. I can flip the little screen so I can see what I'm looking at.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. But another
Microphone, makeup. Uh,
everything. So a lot of places, I just want to add, are if they're not already doing this, a lot of places are doing more of this. Multimedia journalists reporting. So you have to write your own scripts, which normally reporters do anyway, but you have to shoot your own stuff, report it, produce it, everything that goes into it.
Wow.
And so News 12 has a lot of those. They have a lot of MMJs, multimedia journalists who are out in the field doing their own stuff, shooting their own stuff and whatever. And Pix 11 even has a bunch of them. Channel 2 even has a bunch of them. So it's kind of like, I'm not really sure why the industry is going that way. I think maybe it's easier now that technology has become so advanced. You don't need so many people. You don't need a humongous camera out at different
Right.
stories. But places like Channel 4, Channel 7, they're still doing that. That's
all
just
right,
what they've always
just for
done.
the
But
rest of the country,
yeah,
Channel 2 is CBS, 4 is
yes,
NBC, 7 is ABC. Those are
yes.
the three networks
Sorry,
here
the
here in the
lingo.
New
That's
York
just, yeah,
area.
That's
So
on
yeah,
regular network TV,
yeah,
right? I
yeah, the
think.
yeah,
major
Yeah.
networks.
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's interesting though that you do it all yourself, and it makes sense. Why do you need a camera guy if you could just set up a camera
Well, only if they're
and
giving her 3 or 4 separate paychecks for that.
well,
That's what she said. That's what, not just she, but everybody else
right.
apparently who's doing it this way. That's what they're saving the industry, the news
Right.
services.
Well, because the news industry it's so much more competitive. There used to be only those three stations, and they got all the revenues for the news. And now it's so much more competitive, and people are getting their news so many more places that it's not as profitable as it used to
And the
be.
technology actually
And
allows
yeah, so technology
what
has
she's
made
doing.
it.
It's only a matter
doable.
of time before she just gets there and then a drone shows up and hovers in the air and films her.
Well,
Or,
believe it or not,
oh no.
Yeah, they
I've
can do
seen
that.
people reporting from their cell phone. So
Mhm.
these are just as advanced as really anything. It doesn't look, I think what the camera does is it also gives that professional look. You're out in the field and you have a camera, people take you a little bit more seriously than if you're standing there with a cell phone. But I've seen people do it. And I mean, a lot of influencers on social media, I mean, that's what they're doing. People that are journalists on social media, that's what they're doing. But I mean, it's sometimes more efficient. It's less to carry if you don't know exactly where you're going to be and you have a lot of walking around to do. Personally, I probably would resort to solely using my cell phone unless maybe I absolutely had to. But there are things that I do use my cell phone for, like your B-roll video of, like, let's say I'm at the flood and I need some video of the houses that have been completely flooded and now they're being gutted and all the stuff is out on the sidewalk. Because I'm walking those streets up and down, I'm not going to carry a camera by myself. I'll take my cell phone and take some videos of everything that I need to, and the resolution is perfectly fine. The color's perfectly fine.
Wow.
Personally, I like the way it looks better from my cell phone than on the camera because it does all the automatic color and stabilization by itself, so I don't have to worry about doing all of that. But yeah, I mean, that's really what it's come down to is just
Wow.
technology has
So
become so
then
advanced.
after you're at the location,
Uh,
whatever you're covering, you go back to the studio and then download everything, or do you send it on your way back to the studio and then who edits it? There's an editing crew, or are you behind that too?
so it depends on what my day looks like. If they have enough content from me for the day, then I can go to a story on my way home and just worry about it completely the next day. Or, for example, I forgot what day it was. I believe it was Wednesday or Thursday of this past week, maybe even earlier in the week. Newark, the city of Newark, had an active shooter situation where the shooter had been barricaded in the house with a child. Um, I got the message from somebody who is in one of the police organizations, like an insider scoop kind of thing, like, hey, this is what's happening if your station's interested. And I got that message probably around 1. And at that point, I finished my story for the day. I edited that. There is somebody that can edit for us. Like if I'm super backed up on stuff, I can drop stuff to somebody else. Personally, I like doing it myself. I like the way my structure is. So if I have the time, I'd rather just do it. But like for that example situation, I went to Newark on my way home. So I went there, I got the footage, and then I dropped it via Google Drive to our tech director so she can put it into the next show that was going to be happening. So if they need it immediately, then I'll drop it Google Drive. If not, I'll just worry about it the next day if it's not something that's super pressing.
I love this. I love hearing like the inside story, of how news works because, it's changed. Like we said, technology has changed everything and now you're more involved
Hmm.
yourself as a reporter and you have more control over what's reported too, over the editing and everything, which I think sometimes could be very beneficial to, have that kind of control over what
Hmm.
because if your story's edited incorrectly or something, if they get something wrong, that's your face there with it. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
wow.
And that's really what it is too, is like keeping an eye out. It's always good to have more than one set of eyes on whatever's happening, like
Mhm.
even for my stuff. And it's so interesting sometimes because I'll edit and then I'll check it again the next day, like after it's already aired, or I'll turn it on while I'm getting ready in the morning and I'll watch the show. And it's just funny to see like when you've shot everything and you've reported everything and then you get back to edit it and your brain's just going and then the next day you see it and it's like, wow, that looks a lot different than it did yesterday when I was editing it, because your mindset is just completely clear of
Yeah.
it for the night, and then you see it in the morning and it's just like an interesting perspective that it brings to it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like
When
proofreading, that's why you always have somebody else
somebody else
proofread your
do
work
it.
because your mind fills in the blank because you know what
Yep.
Yeah.
you want to say. And I would imagine it's the same thing as, well, I was there. So, it's like also teaching, you have to give the whole story. You're like, I was there. So my brain's filling in parts of it that I'm not sharing with the audience.
Yeah.
Because
All
I,
right, but okay, so to get to the point where you are now in your career, at what point in your life, high school, did you decide, I think I'd like to do that. I think I'd like to be a TV journalist. When did that first spark hit?
So, it was definitely in high school. I was brought up in a family of entrepreneurs. My mom owned a tanning salon. My brother still owns his DJ company. So I knew I had it completely set in my heart and in my mind that I was going to school for business. And I was going to be a successful businesswoman and I was going to run a successful operation just like my family members. But then, so the high school that I went to, I actually had to apply to get in and I had to take tests in order to get into the school. Only a select, maybe 7 or 8 kids from my district got into there. So super like college prep school and then placement testing to get into the different classes. So all our stuff was college prep and whatnot. And they required us to have an internship for senior year in order to graduate, which normally doesn't happen until you're in college. They require an internship, but we were required to have an internship, had to be signed off. There was the intern supervisor that had to come do visits on site and make sure that we were actually doing work for an internship every Wednesday because we had off from school. Yeah, we had off from school senior year every Wednesday. We had to go to internship. That's what it was. That's the process. And I always loved to write and public speak, but I wanted to go to school for business. That's just anyway. I was looking through the list of internships, and there was one. It was journalism intern for Meadowlands Chamber of Commerce. And I was like, oh, the Meadowlands Chamber of Commerce, like I've heard about them. They do a lot with the local businesses in the area. So there it would be like, okay, writing and public speaking and business. I'd get to meet a bunch of different business professionals. So I secured that, which funny enough, after I secured the internship, I found out that the people there know my brother really well. So it all worked out and it was a funny moment, but it kind of gave me the security to know like I did that on my own, and then I found out that they knew my family, so that was like a moment of pride for myself. But yeah, so I did the journalism internship there, and then once that finished, my senior year was over. I ended up getting hired. I asked them if they would be willing to hire me because I loved working there and I loved doing this stuff, and they hired me. So I worked on their digital and print publications, writing articles, interviewing business professionals, essentially what I do on air just for print and digital publication. So my face wasn't on a camera unless I was on a Zoom getting an interview from somebody. But it was all written stories and articles about different businesses, tips for consumers in terms of what's going on in the world of architecture. It was fun being able to touch into different industries.
Wait a
But
minute. I'm
then,
just trying to think here. You were doing all of this during the height of COVID too, right?
yes, yeah,
Oh,
I'm trying
I
to think, wait
was.
a minute,
wow.
how long ago was this? And wait a minute,
Wow.
that's what also was, because when you said, well, we were doing this on Zoom. Well, Zoom is sort of when COVID hit.
Yeah.
So it must have been really happening when you were, 3 years, 4 years or so ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So COVID happened my junior year in high school. So it was kind of at its peak-ish, the end of junior year, I believe it was, middle to end of junior year. And then senior year happened. It was still kind of in place. We weren't fully back at school yet.
Right.
My internship actually started remote. So I would have to like Zoom into different conferences that were happening, and take notes and then write articles about them. But then I was in person when I finally got hired. I was in person for the duration of my time there. But it was also an interesting time too, because a lot of the work I did also tailored to COVID, how businesses were being affected, PPE shortages. I mean, there was a shortage of masks. We had to do stories on all that kind of stuff. And just yeah, the nature of it, especially for that internship period of everything being on Zoom and having to meet with all these professionals and
Wow.
the awkward situation of your dog barking and things happening in your house. So that was, yeah. Wow, that totally just is complete blur to me. It brings me back to all of that. It was interesting.
Yeah, well, I think it's a testament to you being able to adjust and being flexible and, just going with whatever's thrown at you, because it sounds like you've just really taken on a lot of challenges all at the same time. Um, and so let's throw some COVID in there too. Let's really get her. But that's awesome because now you're so prepared for, whatever the future holds. As you know, you wanted to go into business and now you're a journalist, and there things could change and twist and turn later too, but you sound like you always have a plan, and you're always, I think the key thing, to my advice to young people, is just to do something. Just be working towards something. Don't lay on the couch and watch TV and dream, because everybody dreams. Everybody thinks I'd do this, I'd do that, but just be active in doing something. And it might not be the thing that you are planning on doing, but you're, doing something, and it could lead somewhere, which
Yeah.
brings me to, like, what kind of stories do you like? What are your favorite kind of, on-site interviews with people?
Yeah.
Like, what do you like?
I do like the business reporting, kind of, and I'll touch on this too while I'm at it, is getting my MBA. People always ask me, why are you getting your MBA if you're a journalist? And why did you go for comms and media studies? And then now you're going for your MBA. For starters, they're both general. So if something falls through, life changes, life happens, I decide I want to do something else. Communications and media studies, you have to know how to communicate and you have to understand the media. For business, what does it hurt to know what goes on in
Right.
business administration?
Right.
So that it opens up more opportunities for, if life happens or I want to jump to corporate side, I have more business knowledge to do that. But at the moment, I want to use it more to niche down into business reporting. So I do like reporting on small businesses. Once the program is done, I want to put more of my time outside of work into researching more stocks and market trends and being able to report on that, because I do have a foundational knowledge, but not enough to confidently report on that just yet. So I want to expand it that way. So that, I think, is my favorite, and also growing up in a family of entrepreneurs, is being able to spotlight those backbone businesses and the local economy that we have here. And also, and that just even goes more general too, like FIFA's happening. What does FIFA here in MetLife Stadium mean for the businesses in the Meadowlands area? Because that's going to be how many people in this tiny little New York City, New Jersey metropolitan area, and is that going to be good for businesses? Probably, because that's going to be so many more people coming into the area. So that just makes me so excited. But I do have to say, I love the hard news stuff as well. It makes you, there's a lot that goes into it. You're in situations where people are vulnerable and you have to be able to flip a switch.
And it exposes you to the extremes
Yeah.
of life. I was going to ask you about that, but keep talking about, and then we'll get to that. But keep talking about where you were going, but on the things that you've
Yeah.
been exposed to.
Yeah. So long story short, my favorite, I have to say, is the business reporting. And that's where I want to grow more, although I do want to grow in general. But I like the hard news stuff because it has made me more open to, I guess, being able to change emotions and kind of flip that switch and dissociate to an extent from what you're doing. For example, the North Plainfield, that was a recent one, so that's why I keep going back to that. But the North Plainfield flooding, being able to show up and enterprise a story. I'm not guaranteed sound if I'm not going to a press conference, which means by the end of the day, I have to have an interview with somebody. And now I'm showing up to a flood zone where people's homes are completely destroyed, and I have to ask somebody to talk to me on camera about how they're feeling about it. And being there by myself with a camera, that's also not easy, because they're like, who is this crazy lady with the one camera coming up to talk to me? Because a lot of people, they know news typically as the big guy with the camera here and the cute little reporter with the microphone. And when it's not that way, it's kind of like, what's going on here? And why is this person standing in front of my house with a tripod and a camera? And then you have to try to pry and ask them questions. And I think that also goes into, sometimes you're going to leave a story without an interview, and you have to be okay with that, and you have to figure something out. So for me, it worked out with the North Plainfield flooding, where there was a kid that lived on the block over there who was happy to talk to media, and just kind of let them know there was a house explosion. That's what I was reporting on. Was
Right.
in the midst of all the flooding, there was a house that had exploded, on a block with the severe flooding. I'm not sure what the cause was. It was still under investigation at the time of me reporting it, but the one of the people that had lived across the street, he saw the house explode. He was standing in his driveway and he watched the house come off the ground. So he was open to telling people, like, this is what I saw from my driveway. I was out here, we were talking about the flooding, whatever. So that worked out, but there's been times where I didn't get any sound. And it's kind of like, okay, what do I do now that I have no interview? For example, a detective had been shot and killed in Newark, sitting in his car. Somebody shot him through the car window and he passed away. Really sad and devastating. And that was a big thing that a lot of the media was covering. And I remember I had to go to his memorial site where he was shot in the car. The car wasn't there anymore, but they had put like candles and flowers and pictures out. And there was a group of police officers, and they were all mourning and grieving, and they were just being there for one another. And it was really emotional and moving moment, even for somebody who had no connection to this person. I'm just there to do my job and tell a story. And I'm with my camera kind of down the block. I wanted to give them a little bit of space, but one of the officers had seen me, and he had asked me if I could politely go to my car and take the camera with me because they needed some time to just be alone to grieve together. So at that point, now I'm definitely not going to ask them for an interview because they're going through this hard time. So then I went to my car and I waited it out. I just drove away. I was like, you know what, let me just remove myself from the situation, let them have their time. This is a really hard time for his family, his friends, his coworkers, the entire police department, and local police in the area. So I had to leave knowing that there's nothing besides my voiceovers at this point for the story. And by the time I got back to the station, that's all I had. And that's all that we had to work with, was me just telling the story with my voiceovers and some visuals that I had. But it really, hard news will get you in these situations where you really have to improvise and figure something out, because a lot of times you have a plan and everything just completely falls through from what you planned.
All right. That's let's now I wanted to ask you from before. I'm sure you got to work and they said, okay, Brianne, you got to do this. And what were the extremes? What was the easiest or the fluff piece or the thing that was like, oh, really, this is too simple, to the extreme that almost like with the policeman or with the flooding or something that was completely the other end of this thing, that left both of them left marks on you.
Yeah, so the easiest ones, when I walk in the morning, the easiest ones are always the press conferences. You know, you're going to get there, you're going to set a microphone up, and you're going to have something to be able to put into a story. Also, the easier ones are like the fluff ones, those small businesses that are opening up, because small business, who doesn't want
Right.
eyeballs on their brand new
Right.
business? So those are pretty easy too. Food drives, clothing drives, pet food. That was a fun one. We had a pet food drive in Patterson, so that was a fun story. And then I guess on the contrary, the hardest ones are like those where you have police officer passing away, and or somebody passing away, and how do you go about asking their family and friends to talk to you about it? Sometimes you will have somebody that wants to talk and say, this person was such an impactful figure in the
Right.
community. We do want people to know about them. But sometimes it's not always the right time for that. In this situation, it was fresh. It had just happened probably the day before, maybe 2 days before, and people were just not wanting to talk. Now, if I were to talk to them at like for example, I saw his family at the police unity tour over in Newark that kicked off, and they did their bike ride all the way to the Capitol. So his family was there. They were talking to community members, and wasn't easy, but they open up more over time, and they want to tell the story and talk about the footprint that person left on the community. So I think that's where the harder part is where you're working with, first of all, you're working with nothing, which isn't always hard. You can show up somewhere or go get man on the street interviews. So if I'm doing a story about what people are expecting for the gubernatorial race coming up, I might go sit outside Stop and Shop and find an older person and find a younger person and talk to them both, and you'll find somebody. But in those situations where it's hard, it's morbid, people are grieving, those are those are hard. I like to do them because I like to do all of them, but they're not easy.
Because it's I'm sure they're not in any way pleasurable or to do, but in for what you're doing in your career, you need to be exposed and to be able to deal with all of those things as a professional, but still showing some kind of, you got to have some kind of compassion and heart. It's just part of your nature to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Kelly. You can ask her something.
Well, yeah, I have a question. So you're just an amazing young woman growing up with a single mother. Did that influence you in any way, watching her manage her life as a single mother?
Absolutely. My mom, I have three older brothers too. My mom raised us all as a single mom.
Wow.
I will throw in there, she is a cancer survivor of two different types of cancer.
Oh,
The second
geez.
one was a really rare form of liver cancer that actually had came back. Uh, she's been cancer free for since Hurricane Sandy time, so I want to say 13 years now ish.
Mm.
Yeah,
So
let's.
fortunate for
I
that.
happen to know Kelly because I know Brienne's mom. I know the whole
Mm.
family for since they were all born. But talking about that, about Sandy. Oh, by the way, her house was flooded
We were
in that
homeless
storm.
for that entire time period. Yeah.
Wait, she's fighting
Yeah.
cancer and she's a single mother with three boys and a girl, and she's flooded.
And
we
the
lost
house
our
was flooded
and her
from
business.
Hurricane
Yeah.
Sandy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I'll try to go through that really briefly. So she had the rare form of liver cancer. It was super rare that local hospitals here didn't have the research or the equipment to provide for her. So she had to be sent out to Columbia Presbyterian, where there was a doctor there that was able to fast track the process. Um, what started as just pain in her side turned into this. So we're fortunate that somebody talked her into going to the hospital to get it looked at, because
Right.
otherwise I don't know what would have happened. Um, so she battled that, and she actually had her, I believe it was after her second operation. I was in fourth grade and Hurricane Sandy was happening. So she had just gotten home, and just maybe a couple of days later, she couldn't walk the stairs. We had like 20 steps up to like the bedroom area in that house. So she was staying on the couch downstairs. And I remember the power went out. She was laying there. She couldn't get wet. She couldn't shower. So she had to wash with like a washcloth because the incision couldn't get wet. And the power went out. So my brother and I, my brother Ryan, we were sitting there with like flashlight headband things, and we were just playing cards. And my brother opened the front door just to see, like, okay, the power went out. There's supposed to be a hurricane. Is there anything happening outside? He opened the door and a wave of water came through the door. And he was like, oh, bleep, there's a lot of water coming in the house. So he was able to try and shut the door. And we had to get my mom up the 20 stairs and not get wet from all this, God knows, sewer rainwater coming into the house. Our main living area had 5 feet of water. That was our living room, our dining room, our kitchen, our bathroom, my brother's bedroom. And we went upstairs to my mom's room, and we waited until a boat could come get us out of the house. And we had to get my mom down the stairs, and my brother had to carry me on his shoulders because the water was so high, and get into a boat and go to a shelter. So
Oh.
mom did not have anything easy. None of us did, but her raising children through all of this, I think really speaks to my passion and my commitment to doing what I do. Seeing her be such a powerhouse through everything that she's done, it's like this woman has gone through everything that could make her absolutely angry at the entire world. And she's
Right.
not. She's
Right.
not angry at the world. She goes about what she has to do. She ran a successful business. She raised her 4 children. And now, how many grandchildren later, and so much joy.
Good.
It really speaks to the world doesn't stop when things happen. It's important to be with your emotions when things happen. It's important to process things as they happen, but you have to just keep moving and you have to be compassionate and you have to do everything you do with purpose. And I think that really does go into what I do. I'm passionate about making a difference because I had this mom who, after everything she went through, everything she wanted to do was provide for everybody else and lend a helping hand and go volunteer at different organizations and all of that. So being able to make a difference by using my craft is just an absolute dream. And that's regardless anywhere that I'm working or any location or any city. Being able to use what I love to do is writing in public speaking and information to be able to make that difference and touch lives and bring a voice to people that are voiceless or communities that don't have the light on them that they need to have at that moment. Just really, it's really moving for me. It really is just the prime foundation of why I do what I do.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
news, because sharing news and sharing stories, everybody has a story. John, we've interviewed people. Um, Annette, was that her name that does they're not, it's not a biography, it's a, what's it called? Memoir, the
Yeah.
memoirs. Because everybody has a story and everybody has had tough times. And you can either, when I've gone through tough times, I think probably some of the worst times to me, which is doesn't compare to what your mother's been through, is when my dogs die. Like I literally feel like I'm going to die every time. I literally feel like I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to survive. One of them got hit by a car in front of me,
I'm
and
sorry to hear
I literally thought my friends all thought I was going to kill myself because they kept saying, I
Oh,
don't think I'm going to
geez.
get through this. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to kill myself. I think my heart just like broke and is ripped out and I'm going to die. And so I can only imagine, your mom going through these major catastrophes and struggling and surviving. And what else can you do? Right? You have to just keep going. I
Well,
mean,
Yeah.
on top of all that, I happen to know that her mom and Brienne, they have dogs. They
so
have
yeah, you'll have to deal
animals.
with that.
And her mom
Yeah.
has always had dogs, if I remember correct.
Yeah. Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Always a dog in the
Losing
house.
them,
Yeah.
that rips your heart. I mean, I've been through some other pretty horrible things. But I think losing my dogs every time is the one that I just always feel like, okay, I'm never getting another dog and I'm not going to survive this anyway. And when I get another
Yeah.
dog, I'm like, you're going to break my heart one day. I look at them
They-
sometimes, I'm just like, you're just going to rip my heart out one day.
Yeah. It's funny.
But
I actually I can relate to that. I have my own dog. Her name is Maui. She's a silver lab retriever. And every year, she's only 3, okay? And every year on her birthday, I get so sad. Like I want to take this dog to get a pup cup. I want to take her to like the dog park and do fun things. Take her to the dog beach in the summertime, but every time her birthday comes around, I want to do nothing but cry.
oh,
Because I get what you're saying with like the
yeah.
whole pet loss. They become part of you,
Yeah.
part of your family. Like,
Yeah,
and
and when
losing
it's
them
their
is
birthday,
not.
you start doing the math. You're like,
Yeah,
how many years do I think you can live? How many more
exactly.
years do I have to live with you? How old will I
Ah,
be? Yeah,
jeez,
literally,
oh
Yeah.
boy.
you're preparing
Where in life
yourself.
does that put me
Yeah,
in that many years from now?
how am
Yeah,
I going to survive that one? Because I
yeah,
always swear I'm never getting another dog, and then I always get another dog. And yeah, from the time they're a puppy, I just start counting the years. I'm like,
Oh,
yeah,
jeez.
when are you going
yeah,
to rip my heart out and
yeah,
trample on it?
yeah.
But yeah, that's
Well,
a
Um,
hard one.
let's get back to the news now.
yeah.
I like this question. It's what kind of stories or topics do you think that local, not national, local newsrooms need to invest in more for either for their audience, just their audience.
Yeah, so working once I work more in the industry, I understand the whole if it bleeds, it leads
No,
Mm,
whole mentality. And it's true. That is what gains more traction is people see a headline of man shot and blah blah blah, and they want to know more about it. Human
mm,
nature, don't know why. But I think it's really important to bring the positivity to it. So while it's important to tell the stories and spread awareness of like, okay, these kids are subway surfing and they're falling off of subways and getting run over on the train tracks. Yeah, that's depressing and it's sad. People need to know about it to spread awareness on this that's happening, but you can't keep bringing people down with this news. You have to bring positive stuff into it and kind of like find a balance where people aren't just it's funny that you bring this up because I remember I was working at Channel 7 and I went to
ABC
Starbucks.
folks. There you
Yes. Well, ABC 7 New York, so local,
go.
not ABC Network.
Right.
Eyewitness News. So when I was working for Eyewitness News, our Starbucks we had one in the building, we had one outside of the building. I always went to the one outside of the building. And then I had found this guy who would always go there around the same time. And he recognized me after like a couple of days. He was like, okay, like I've seen you in here every day. Like, what do you do around here? And I was like, oh, I work next door at the ABC 7 building. And he was like, oh, no way. So you work in the news. And I wasn't on air for Channel 7. Takes a lot to get to that point. But I was writing articles for the website and he had asked me about what I do there. And I told him that I had wrote for their website stories. And his question was, so what is like, why is it that the news always has to tell us stuff that just makes us feel like we're going crazy? And I was like, good question.
yeah.
And it made me think about it. And I do think that newsrooms, whether it's national or local, need to be bringing that positive stuff. And I do see a lot of it out there. Channel 7 does a really good job with doing, ABC 7 does a really good job with doing that. A lot of stations do. But I think sometimes you get caught up in the politics and the drugs and the weapons and everything that's going on. But what about the new 25-year-old that opened up a brand new hair salon and dog grooming place at the same time? You know, like just
Hmm.
hypothetical situation like people want to know about this. What's in the area? What's happy? What are free events to go do because people love free events and free things to do. Maybe people can't afford it, maybe people don't want to spend the money and it's happy, it gets people interacting with one another. And I think COVID really did us wrong with that. It taught us that we can find some sort of nature in being on Zoom or going to self checkout at the grocery store and not having to interact with people face to face. And I think stories and articles that promote positivity and interacting with one another in a positive way in the community is just so important.
Yeah.
Um,
Anything that moves your emotions, I think, will also, get views,
yeah,
clicks, whatever. Because people like the feel good stories too, like the firefighter that saved the kitten, or the little boy that got rescued when he was drowning, or something like that.
yeah,
Even though it could have been a tragic ending, but a happy ending people like too. And
yeah,
something you just while you were talking, I thought of it. Something I would like to see more. I don't know if the news is the place for it, but more educational
yeah,
information, more not even, it doesn't even have to be like an education, but informational, like this is how this works, because a lot of people, I think, we get lost in how business works and how government works and how, the politics of things. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to know the behind the scenes, like how does it work now in news? Because I think a lot of things, we're making assumptions about things we don't really know how they work. So I would like to see more of that, more shows that show us, actually how something works, let
yeah,
alone how to, even how to tips, cleaning tips or whatever. I would just like to see, a little part on every news half hour, whatever hour newscast, a cleaning tip at the end of it or something like that. I think something that makes your life easier or better.
yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
no, it's true. And when I was working over at WABC, Nina Pineda is one of the Seven on Your Side investigative sector reporters. And she does a lot of that. So she does a lot of the seven
Oh,
on your
good.
side stuff. So she'll do like those tips on like how to save money when you're going to the dealership and like what to watch out
Mm-hmm.
for with people trying to rip you off. And those stories are always a hit because you never, and she'll go to like local places and like local dealerships and talk to people and get information. So it's like, I remember she did a story about a dealership that's actually right by my house. And I was like, wow, I pass that place every day and I never knew that this was going on or that this had happened. And then she did a whole story about like what to watch out for when you're going to the dealership. And I do think that that's really important too, is
Yep.
educating people and giving them a perspective, more of a perspective to think about. Because I think what the news is supposed to do, and it doesn't always do, is inform people and educate people in a very neutral black and white way that lets people decide what they want to decide after the fact. We're living in a world too where reporting can sometimes get very political. There's different
Yeah. It's usually
silos that
slanted.
stations follow, reporters follow, and
Yeah.
things can get very persuasive. And it's not
Yeah.
supposed to be that way.
Well, what do you think of the role, or do you think it's even going to matter, the role of AI in your field? How's that
Yeah.
going to
Face
affect
palm,
things?
just like John did. ChatGPT, AI. I mean, AI, before people were even talking about it as much as they are now, AI has played such an integral role in almost anything that we do. AI goes into Google Calendar, it goes into scheduling things. I think now there's just more light on it because it's gotten so much more advanced where you can plug something into ChatGPT and it gives you something right back. I think that it can be influential and I think that it can be impactful in a positive way. But I think that there are really sharp boundaries that need to be sought out and that need to be followed because data leaks, we've seen that. We've seen plagiarism, we've seen scams, we've seen fraud, we've seen all of it
Right.
in the short amount of time that we've been talking about it so much. But I'm going to show you guys this because I was hysterical laughing with my mom. I plugged this into ChatGPT because I was just curious to see what kind of graphic it was going to give me for a story that I just did in Fair Lawn, New Jersey, about a weapons and drug bust with an overnight patrol. It didn't escalate, it wasn't violent, but they did an overnight patrol and they found drugs and guns. So I plugged in a picture of me holding the microphone in front of the police station and a picture of the police car. And I said, make a cool graphic for me to use as a cover photo for like the YouTube video that I was going to post about it. This is what it gave me. I look like a Barbie.
Look cute.
Now
I
you
look like a
gave it
Barbie doll.
you gave it your
you-
picture, right?
I gave
You
it my pictures. Yeah. So actually, I mean, you could see it. It's somewhere on my social media. I gave it this picture of me, with a picture of
Oh,
the police car, and it gave me like this animated picture, which is cool, but it just not for the purposes that I needed it for.
yeah.
So it's cool, depending, I think, what you're using it for. In terms of news, like I said, there are boundaries. Boundaries. I
Yeah.
think using it for generating ideas or summing up information. Tell me this in 2 sentences. Like
Yeah.
it's useful. But in terms of, I know there's been stories out there too where reporters, I not to name any places or anything, but there's been instances of reporters using ChatGPT to generate reporter scripts. And I'm sure it happens more often than we know. Sometimes it's a little bit more noticeable because you can tell if it sounds like somebody wrote it
Right.
themselves or if they didn't.
right.
But I don't know. I mean, I've heard too like extremes of one day you're not going to need an anchor sitting at the anchor desk because you're going to have a robot to just do that. I don't know if that's going to be the case. Part of
Oh,
me makes me think,
Kelly, what was that show that was on like in the 80s or early 90s of a digital he was a digital TV reporter, Max Headroom.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
This is way before your time.
Yeah.
But look up it was a TV show that didn't last very long because it was either very stupid or we just weren't ready for
Ready.
it. I don't know.
I have to
But
wonder if AI is being overly hyped
it
too.
was called Max Headroom.
Headroom. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and it's that became this guy's name. Um, and you'll definitely see that this sort of was the beginning of like uh
I never watched it. What, so was it? I never watched it, so I don't know.
yeah, I
I thought it
only
was like a
watched a couple
cartoonish
of
thing.
episodes and said no, this isn't for me. But on the other hand, it also had a very big cult following afterwards.
Yeah.
Look into that. I think you'll be surprised
Yeah.
at
Well,
that.
I think what scares me about like that thought, I honestly really have no idea where it would even go. I mean, some things surprise me, some things don't. But viewers, I don't know if they'd want to see that. I mean, even if it's not noticeable, you can feel human
Right.
connection and you can feel technology. So even if it's not noticeable and robots start looking like humans, you're going to know if it's a human talking to you or not. Even though anchors are very, sometimes it's monotonous and they're telling you information in a very like cut, dry way. There's ad-libbing. They're giggling with each other. They're, wow, that's really sad. A robot's going to be able to do that. I'm not sure. In terms of field reporting, I don't think that AI ChatGPT would completely take over field reporting, only because there are those instances where you have to be vulnerable with the public. People in general sometimes struggle with that. Never mind having a robot out there trying to be
Right.
vulnerable with somebody that's struggling with a really devastating situation.
My concern is that it's not even going to be a robot, but just an a AI generated person reading,
Yeah.
reading the news to us.
Well, they
Well,
have
I don't
that
know.
now. I mean, they have
Yeah.
video programs you can
No, but
buy.
you actually see the person. I know
Yeah.
now they have voices that
No,
do
they
it.
Yeah,
have people.
well, they on
Really?
TikTok,
Yeah.
I've seen it, is the AI mukbangs. People are so into mukbangs. I don't know what's so interesting about watching somebody sit there and eat McDonald's, but people love it. It's
What is
just
it? What's it?
mukbangs. So, or mukbang, however people say it,
What is
that's
it?
another controversy, is people will just sit there. Like, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna take a video, and I just bought a $5 biggie bag from Wendy's, and now I'm gonna sit here and eat it and just talk and ramble and talk about random things and eat. And I don't know why. People love to watch people eat.
Weird.
It's so absurd to me. But there's these new accounts on TikTok that it's AI mukbang people eating. And at first you're like, wow, look at this. Like, I remember I saw one and I'm not into the whole mukbang thing, but I was like, wow, that like this girl's skin is flawless and her bedroom is gorgeous and she's eating these messy wings in her room. And then once you see she bites into like a wing with a bone in it and bites into it sideways and the bone just like disappears. So it's like, okay,
You're like,
now
wait a
you know
minute.
it's AI. And then you look at the comments and it's like, haha, whoever falls for this is like really
Ah.
silly. But
Yeah.
it's just I don't know. But in terms of reporting,
And
I don't
and
know.
this is
Yeah.
just the beginning, though. I mean, if you
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
this is what it is now, 10 years from now, I used to say a long, long time ago that if the FBI, let's just say, or the CIA, if they ever wanted to get you, now it's not even the FBI or the CIA, it's right down to any law enforcement agency. If they wanted to get you, they will have a video of you killing
Somewhere.
somebody.
Yeah.
Now it's your problem to prove you're innocent. That's,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how do
Because
you
video
prove
cameras are
yourself?
everywhere now.
Yeah.
They're being
That's
recorded
it. And
constantly.
but the thing is, they could manufacture these videos that now
Yeah.
are so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny because every topic you guys bring up, it's like a story just completely just light bulb in my head, like one that I did that can relate. So I hope you guys don't mind that I like
Yeah.
tie it
Share.
into to everything that
Yeah.
have been experiencing over the past year. But there was a press conference that we did with Governor Phil Murphy, our current governor here in New Jersey, and he was passing new legislation for deepfakes. So deepfakes are those fake AI generated photos and there was a girl who was a victim and she had come to speak at this press conference, and she was actually part of the new legislation, so that was also pretty cool for on her end with her family. But she was a victim in high school, maybe freshman or sophomore. I don't remember exactly how old she was, but a fellow classmate had generated a sexual pornographic image of this girl using AI and spread it throughout the entire school. So everybody saw this photo and it looked like her nudes. And she was like, what is this? So she got lawmakers involved, investigators involved, and a lot of investigating went into this. And she had this big vendetta with the school because the school didn't do anything about it. The school, I think, had him on like an in-school suspension or some sort of suspension, and then she had to walk the hallways with him again. And she felt humiliated because who believed it was AI or who didn't believe it was AI, and that makes her look not great. So Governor Phil Murphy she was able to get in touch with the governor's office, which I guess a lot of pushing and shoving and kudos. But she got in touch with Governor Phil Murphy and he passed new legislation that if you are caught with this, you will face serious charges. And then on top of that, if there are other crimes committed, then you'll face all the extra charges
But
with it.
what if you're a minor? Obviously, the boy was a minor. Does it?
Well, I mean, it's illegal to murder people if you're a
the
minor
parents
too.
should be responsible, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't
Maybe
know.
both. Maybe both. But if you
Well-
stab someone and you're only 15, you're still liable. You're still
Oh, yeah.
responsible, so.
Yeah, I don't
didn't
know.
know.
It's so hard to say because every state has however they handle
Yeah.
things, and
Yeah.
the law is always moving somewhere depending on what's happening in the political world, and it's just things are constantly happening. So juveniles yesterday were facing this, tomorrow they might be facing that. It's just
They should know
always-
better, though. I mean, you don't do that
Yeah.
to someone. That's
Well, they
wrong.
should know better. Come on. Look
But-
who we're talking about.
Well, that's
you know.
why we hold them responsible, not just their parents. But
again,
I would think they need to be held responsible.
But I don't know. And then it really makes me think though, like this is all coming out now, but I remember when I was in fourth grade and I wanted to create an Instagram profile, my mom had a major sit down with me when I was in middle school. And I don't remember exactly how old I was. And she had a talk with me, and her fear was my face being out there, and people can just take your face and put it on something else.
Yeah.
And that was 10 years ago, her talking to me about my face being out there and being young and who could do what with whatever. And now it's part of the general conversation. So I don't know. It makes me think a little bit because this has been going on for a long time. And now, I don't know, Kelly, that makes me wonder too, is it being hyped up now? What's going on behind all this talk about AI? I don't know. Because
Yeah,
AI has been around for a long time.
I'm
And it's not
fascinated
just your
with it.
face anymore. Now it could replicate your voice. It could
Yeah,
it
your
could take
everything.
your voice patterns and make you say words that you did not say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but
Okay.
yeah. It's getting scary. It is
And then
getting scary.
and then do we need more law enforcement doing something else now? Because you can't have in terms of your FBI investigators, I mean, how much bandwidth do they have now they have to do all this extra work to find out,
Right.
okay, is this generated by something else? What was it generated by? Who generated it? What technology was used in it? What platform? Now we got to get in touch with people who own that platform. Like it just
You
I mean,
could
how many more
frame
people are gonna
anyone,
have to do
really. I mean, you could just manipulate. Although they can tell if video has been manipulated, they can see that. So I don't know, but these are conversations we should be having in the public so that we can, put in our opinions and ideas. Like, hey, what if somebody does this? What if somebody does that? Oh, I never thought of that. Yeah, so conversations to be had. But anyway, I keep an eye on it because I like to use it for work. I'm like, I look forward to a 3-day work week because AI is doing my work the other
Doing
2
the other
days.
2 days.
Yeah. No, I do know there are
Not going to happen, but
there are some places and industries though that are like super big red X when it comes to AI. chat GPT, like the generating content, inputting stuff situation. I have some friends that I gained through the MBA program at Montclair State who work for like really prestigious business organizations in New York City, and they have to sign NDAs. And in those NDAs, it's like you're not allowed to use ChatGPT because of data leaks and privacy
Yeah.
invasions. Even doctors' offices, like people's medical files are being
Right.
leaked through. I don't how that even happens. I
Right.
don't know, but there are a lot of concerns and boundaries, like I said, that I think need to be in place because
Yeah.
it's not
We live in
good.
a new world. I mean, it's
Yeah.
ever changing, and we do need to have these
Yeah.
conversations,
But
but
it really is a shame because it takes all of this negativity and all of the detrimental stuff really takes away from the positive
yeah,
impacts.
what it could do
Technology's
for
not,
us.
yeah, and technology's not going anywhere. So to say like tomorrow we're just going to wipe out ChatGPT, that's
Mm-mm,
not it's not going to
not
happen.
happening.
People are going to
Right.
just constantly be using it. So I think being able to educate people on the positive uses as opposed to
Yeah.
how to leak data and all of this other stuff. I mean, it's important to watch out for it because people are going to do it no matter what, whether
Yeah.
you say that it's okay or not. Just like weapons and drugs, people
Yep.
find ways around doing things no
Right.
matter what.
Yeah.
But I think being able to shed light on the positive uses is important because then you have people that are like, there's too much negativity. I'm never going to use it. Well, how are you going to move up in your career
Yeah.
when your organization and everybody in it is moving this way and you have
Yeah.
no sort of understanding because you're just completely resistant? I don't want to anything to do with it. And I was kind of like that. Like, I'm never going to use ChatGPT, never going to look at it, never going to use it. And then I got into the MBA program at school, and they were like, we want you to input this data into ChatGPT, and we want you to generate an Excel file through ChatGPT. And it kind of like forced me to use it. And then I was like, it really is not a bad tool, but you
Mhm.
have to watch out for certain things on it and not overuse it. And when you do get stuff back from it, still proofread it because
Yep.
it's not always
Well,
correct.
you want
It
it to
does
be
have
your voice too. So I
yeah.
use it to generate articles, but then I want it to represent our company. So I go through it, and so it's a little bit more our own tone.
Yeah. But even like mathematical stuff, like using it for the MBA program, when I had first had to use it, I would get information back and then I would have like what I know is the correct answer and what ChatGPT just gave me. And it's like how many steps were missed and things
Oh,
miscalculated. Yeah, so that it's
yeah.
really concerning. And people will say like, "Oh, I go to ChatGPT to ask about medical advice. I have a sore
No.
throat and this is going on." And
Oh
I'm like,
no.
it's already bad enough to go to Dr. Google, and Dr. Google will give you real doctors if you search far enough.
Right, right.
Never mind going to ChatGPT. That's concerning. Those are people that I think are overusing it.
Yep.
That
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you can't trust it 100%. I
Yeah,
mean, you
no,
shouldn't.
not
You
at
should
all.
always double check. You should double check
Not at
anything
all.
you find on the internet, really.
Yeah,
As we know in the journalism world, you need two credible sources at least
yeah,
for everything.
yeah. What I
So,
learned in one of my entrepreneurial classes from a professor at Montclair State in my undergrad, he had said if you want to find the information you really need to find and the information you really want to find, you go to page 5 of Google. You never look at the first search.
mm,
You never look at the second search. You keep going. And he was a private investigator at one point. So he's like, if you want to find something, you're not going to find it on the first page. You're not going to find it on the second page. You go all the way down. You scroll all the way to the fifth page and on. And that's where you find like the juicy stuff and what you really are looking for. So I think just the easy surface search on, okay, what's going on? It's easy, it's convenient. And that's what people in the 21st century love is convenience.
yeah,
But that convenience
yeah.
can make things very inconvenient when you have to sit there for
When
how
it's
many more
wrong.
hours figuring things out. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Well, thank you so much, Brianne, for coming back and talking to us
Yeah.
again. We're so excited to see, maybe next year we'll have you on again and see what you're doing. And maybe you're using AI all the time. Maybe we'll have
Yeah,
an AI
reporting on
Brianne.
we'll do this. Yeah, we'll do this in another year, and
Yeah,
let's see. We'll
follow
see where
up.
we go, and then maybe on the fourth year, Kelly, we can have like excerpts from her first 3 episodes and
Yeah, yeah.
see how
That would be
she's
fun just to
grown.
follow along in your career.
Yeah,
Go along.
absolutely,
Let's do
I was
that.
absolutely.
actually thinking about that when you guys asked
Yeah.
me to come back on it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to put like a post on my social medias of like a clip from when I did it with you guys
One
last
back
time
then.
and this
Yeah.
time, yeah. And it's funny because
Fun.
I think I'm wearing like the same color too.
Oh, maybe that's your color.
I hope I'm not. Jeez.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. Well, look, thank you very much,
yeah.
Brianne. It really
Thank
was a
you guys.
pleasure. Love talking to you. And we will have you back on. You're great.
Yeah.
Yes, and I am looking forward to it already.
Thank
Yay.
you.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. Well, thanks for joining us. You're always a delight. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you both
Thanks.
for everything.
Uh-huh.
I'm happy to talk. So if you guys ever want to even chit chat outside of this, I'm happy to be in
Yeah.
touch.
Oh, okay.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Advice and are only for the purpose of entertainment. All statements may be based on hearsay and not necessarily valid proof of any claims in this video. It is not our intention to teach or advise on any topic. Unless otherwise noted, all photos are public domain. Thanks for watching A Slice of Life with Kellie and Jon.